Hello and welcome to the ZMedia Entertainment Summer 2018 Q&A. My name is Zach Elliott and I'll be one of your MCs here tonight. With me is actually my fellow MC, Mr. Fightingleaf. Please introduce yourself.
Greetings. I am Fighting Leaf, also known as Connan Bell, and I am glad to be here.
Yes, welcome. And today we actually have a special Q&A for you guys, for it's going to be about The Guardians of Avalon, the very first radio series that has been completed on the ZMedia Entertainment channel. And with us today to answer some of your questions for the next hour is the director and writer behind the whole series. Please welcome Mr. Fox of the Fedora.
Hello, everybody. I am the Fox in the Fedora, also known as Sean, and I am the third member of this trio of creators.
Well, welcome. And let's go ahead and jump down to just a quick question that I have for those who don't know. What is Guardians of Avalon?
All right, so for those of you who haven't watched, or in this case, listened to the show, The Guardians of Avalon is an audio production that I wrote, directed, and produced. It came out this June and ran until early August. And you can catch it right here on the ZMedia channel. I believe we have a link to it in the description. I do not know if it's there yet. It is a fantasy adventure about a man who ends up on the magical island of Avalon, who turns into a werewolf, and he ends up being aided by a number of colorful characters in his quest to find his brother and find a way home, while also dealing with a very nasty dictator.
That sounds like a swell adventure. To put it lightly, it's been a swell adventure. The story has been told over 5 episodes, each one 40 minutes long. Tell us though, how long was the writing process behind the entire show?
I started writing the series last September. And that went from September all the way to about late October. It took about 2 months to write the whole thing, figure out what I wanted. I'd been kind of mulling it over in my head for a while, but eventually it kind of just became what you hear now. So 2 months to write. It's about all I needed.
That's splendiferous. And here's the thing is that the writing process for this kind of show is, I would probably say, is much harder to write, of course, considering that we're actually dealing in much more of an auditorial medium instead of both a visual and auditorial. So this means we have to worry about things like we can't really say, hey, like saying like we see him behind a tree. You had to say, hey, I'm hiding behind a tree. Tell us, was there any challenges when actually trying to make the transition to the radio style?
The audio style of writing is actually, some say it's trickier, but I guess it just depends on who you are. I'm so thankful that I've had people like my grandmother, who gave me old time radio shows from like the 1940s to listen to, and I would just listen to them, constantly when I was younger, because I liked the idea of just being able to imagine what the stories looked like in my head. So as time went on, it actually was harder for me to transition to visual writing, because I had become so used to and so enthralled by by audio style of writing, which is totally outdated. But for something like this and what we're planning to do with it, it was actually very opportune. So being able to write, being able to state the obvious without stating the obvious is a bit of a challenge, but yeah, that's basically my thought process on trying to get it that way.
Well, Well, it is a very hard thing to think about, considering you don't have the pretty pictures to always rely on all the time, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to kind of, when I was writing it, I had to kind of envision what the locations were going to look like ahead of time and figure out just how, if they're walking someplace, how long it's going to take them to get to one side. If they're fighting somebody, how close they are to each other. Um,
Geography is important.
oh yeah, choreography, geography, it's still a factor that you have to understand, because if you're just like, if you make it sound like they're far away and then all of a sudden they're next to each other, it doesn't make any sense.
And then there's the question of you brought up choreography for these combat scenes. One thing that fight scenes in films can get away with is just engaging the audience through visual alone. However, taking the time to just grunt and scuffle and move during a fight sequence sounds like it has its own challenges. How did you handle specifically the action sequences for the story?
Um, Mostly the action sequences went down to or came down to having to, like, it's kind of hard to explain it, actually. It's just, for the most part, when I came to the writing process, I was just thinking of the location, thinking of how big the area was going to be, with like the scene. Kind of envisioned it like a stage almost. Like, I didn't think of this as a movie or like a TV series, even though it is kind of a TV series in style. I thought of like a stage play, and I thought, well, okay, how big is the stage usually? I used to do some stage work in high school, behind the scenes mostly. So when it came to envisioning the fight scenes, it was a matter of like, okay, well, think of the stage, think of where people are, think of how long it would take somebody like that to get across the stage, but also keep in mind what special abilities they might have. We're dealing with werewolves and magical creatures and stuff, so it's not going to take them uh, extremely an extreme amount of time to get over to, like, say, a human standing on the other side of the stage, if we're using the imagination correctly. So when it comes to the fight scenes, and I'm telling the actor, okay, I need you to, like, get punched here. So I'm like, okay, give me your punch, and then they'll get punched, and I'll say, okay, now give me a little bit of a lead in before the punch, so that I can tell the other actor, because we're recording on different days. So it's like, I'll tell the other actor, okay, the first actor had a little bit of a lead in, so you have time to do like a grabbing sound, like you're grabbing them, and then you can punch them. And that's a way I ended up kind of figuring out the choreography and figuring out the timing of the fight scenes, and just trying to understand what that's going to look like in my head and how it's going to sound. Obviously, nothing ends up sounding exactly the way you want it to, but you try your darndest to get it that way.
That's nifty.
Such great responses from you tonight. That's swell. Golly gee willikers.
Listen, you're the one answering my questions, and really, I've got myself a few, and I do have a few more questions, such as like, here's actually a good one, is that, when you were actually working on the casting for these characters, what was your reasoning behind the casting for some of the characters, starting off with some main characters? Let's start off with the main character, Mr. Connor Faraday.
Okay, so Connor Faraday was an easy one. One of the things I was always taught was that you need to write what you know. So of course that can change with research and stuff, but nothing excuses the fact that if you lived it or if you've experienced something, that is that is going to be very beneficial to the writing process and what it's going to and how it's going to sound in the end. So Connor, I'm not gonna lie, Connor is pretty much just me, and how I react to everyday problems and how I react to just the stuff that comes along every day. And this is how I would react to this situation. So it was kind of easy writing for Connor, because it was literally just react to it, you know, asking myself, react to it. Just how would you react to this? What would you do in this situation? Of course, there's suspension of disbelief, but that's for the sake of fantasy.
That really the thing behind that question was really why did you choose specifically the actor behind the role?
Well, Rory, for those who don't know, Connor Faraday was played by Rory W. Griffin, a very good friend of mine. Excellent actor. I've seen him in, or heard him in a number of productions done by a man named Elson Wong. And Rory can go to great lengths to hit certain different characters. He's played a number of darker characters. He's played a number of goofy characters, but he seems to be really good at nailing the everyman character, and that was why he was like my first pick. And I was like, it's going to be Rory because he can just nail the everyman character.
You know, interestingly that you bring up everyman character, because I just got a message from him saying wacky characters.
Yes, there is in the audience there, folks. Photographer 55, aka Rory W. Griffin, who plays Connor Faraday in the Guardians of Avalon. But a lot of the choices that went into casting was who can give me the best chemistry. And that's why Skywolf, that's her username, Skywolf, aka Marianne Saunders Braun, was the one who ended up as Alexis, because she and Rory have known each other for a while as both friends, and they've acted together. So when I looked for somebody who could have great chemistry, I was like, you two would be perfect because you're already friends. You've acted together before, and just the way you act in everyday life is something I want to bring to those roles. So in the end, it was a matter of who could sound like the character, and who has the best chemistry with the characters that they're most, going to be paired up with. And that was my basis for like why I cast certain people as certain characters.
All right. I'm at loss of words.
Well, we got a couple questions on the announcement video we posted a while ago, and you got questions coming in here.
Of course, I actually have a few questions that were brought up by a few users previously, and I actually wish to relay them. Are you ready?
I'm good to go when you are, sir.
All right, cool. Give me a minute.
You just said you were ready, and now you're like, give me a minute.
I actually found a question that I'm interested in knowing as well.
All right, fire away.
In the chat, Alpha Parunga asks, Fox, what radio shows did you listen to?
Oh, I was given I can't remember if it was Christmas or my birthday, when I was like had to be either early high school or middle school. I was given the radio show titled The Green Hornet. And as some of you may know, that was not too long ago. That was a while ago, but it was remade into a comedy movie by Seth Rogen. But the Green Hornet radio show, basically, it's late 1930s, early 1940s. Masked hero goes around pretending to be a bad guy to fool the criminals and get kind of the criminals to get jumpy and hopefully incriminate themselves. But I listened to the Green Hornet, listened to the Shadow, and I listened to a number of detective stories because mostly that's what a lot of the radio shows back then were. But I love the Green Hornets especially because I like the concept, and I like that they took it one step beyond towards like the end of the series, where like for the most part it was either him battling like Nazis or he was battling gangsters. Sometimes he'd battle like a specialized bad guy, but it really didn't go any farther than that. then they brought in a bad guy who like wanted to figure out his identity, and I was like, okay, see, now that's a little outside the box. That's different. So seeing that you could do just about whatever you wanted to within reason in these audio shows is another thing which drew me to want to, listen to them more and actually make them. So
Totally radical, dude.
mm.
Now I have ourselves a few questions from the previous announcement video, and here is actually one of the questions for you from Mr. Bonsai Boy 617 asks, what exactly was the inspiration for Guardians of Avalon?
Oh, a number of things. I've always been more attracted to fantasy than, say, direct sci-fi or any other genre out there. I enjoy those genres, but if you said, "Hey, do you want to watch The Terminator, or would you rather watch, I don't know, pick up fantasy,
Lord of the Rings.
let's use instead, I don't know, let's use, trying to think of one off.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
Yes, with Profion, yes. There's Narnia. I do enjoy the Narnia movies. But to go with one here, let's take this one. Let's do Jumanji. I do like Jumanji. I would probably pick Jumanji, even though some people. Or here's another one that I really like. It's another Robin Williams movie. Hook. I that one had a lasting impression on me because it was fun, but it also had its dabbings of drama. So I was like, yeah, that's the type of story I want to see. That's the type of story that makes me happy. It's fun, but takes itself just serious enough to be, a full meal. Let's use that metaphor. Not to say that I'm denying like Terminator 2, like how good and how action packed and interesting that was, but again, if I was given the choice between fantasy or sci-fi or any other genre, I would pick the fantasy.
Neato completo.
Neato completo?
Lay off me. All right, here's an actual here's a really good question to bring up. What was the most difficult / strenuous / frustrating part of Avalon? This question comes from Warrynot.
The editing. I enjoy editing. I'm not gonna lie. Editing small videos is almost therapeutic for me. Editing very long videos, even if it's just audio, on a time limit, is a headache. And a lot of the times I was just like trying to cover all my bases. I knew what I wanted it to sound like. I had all the assets there so that I could make it sound like the way I wanted it to. It was just making sure that it was flowing well and that it was keeping people's interest and that it was moving at a pace that I liked and that other people could get behind. And making sure that I was, I wasn't just sticking things, there or there or there on the timeline, and actually putting, time to be like, okay, is this take good? Are there any pops like hiding within the take that I can get rid of? Because I had to sit there and surgically remove some of the pops that couldn't be removed. So I was just trying to like cheat it almost, where like I'll cut like right down the middle of the pop and then just inch it out backwards and then inch it forwards and then put it together, and God willing it would sound like a complete sentence. There's no break there and the pop would be gone, and it worked. A lot of it worked. It's just, again, it was just really,
I'm-
really annoying.
It's I mean it is one reason why editor is also synonymous with the term surgeon.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it really is. It really is.
But
And there's a reason that that I am not contributing in the editing department, because anyone who's actually seen my videos, at least the ones that were edited by me, they know that as much work that goes into them, my skills leave a great deal to be desired. When this guy, and when Zach make my videos, they make them a whole lot more entertaining just by having those extra chops that they have there. So, all in all, Sean, I have to say your work really paid off in this case.
Well, thank you very much. Also, one person in the audience just said that we should be closer to the mic.
Yeah,
I don't
yes,
know who
yes,
he's
I'll be
referring to.
closer. I'll be closer to the mic for you guys.
I don't know who he's referring to.
I think one of them might be me, because I was actually not very close to my mic at all.
Yeah.
I'm closer now.
yeah,
All
for,
right then.
for me, I'm like the standard 6 inches away. Only thing is, I'm actually a lot further away because I'm usually pretty loud. If you've heard me on streams before, so good reason why I should be further away. Anyway, this is a very
Goodbye, Zach. See you later.
Anyway, this is a very serious question time to bring up.
Uh-huh.
Because we have our next question, which actually comes from Wingsong. She asks, did you guys ever thought that you come this far as a group from when you guys first collabed?
I hoped it would get this far. I didn't know if it was gonna get this far.
I don't think it worked out. I barely see these guys. Right now, I think I'm just talking to pre-recorded messages just from these two, and right now they just listen. Watch, Connan, say something.
I'm sorry, I don't understand how to respond.
See, that's a pre-recorded message. Works out perfectly.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to respond.
Well, the answer to that question is donuts.
That's also
that is something I understand.
they're all all these are presets, by the way.
Yes.
All
So
that-
let us talk about the next thing on the time.
Okay, for real. Okay, for real. Here's another question for you. Also from Wingsong, and said, what inspired the idea of Avalon itself, / what the island would be like if it was real?
One of the places I really want to visit in the future is I would love to go to England and Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. Just those areas, that area of the world, those countries. Particularly Ireland, because my family is from there, or part of my family is. But a lot of the things I've done is I've looked up a lot of the pictures on Google, and I've looked up a lot of the of what that area of the world looks like typically. And I thought about Avalon. I thought about how I wanted the magic to work. And while a lot of the design is based on the landscapes you'd see in like Ireland or Great Britain, I didn't want it to be completely that, or it is completely that, but it's also a mixture of a continuous one season. It's not really stated in the audio, but for the YouTube release of the show, if you look at the pictures that are that are just there as the show progresses, every time you see Avalon, or most of the time you see Avalon, majority of the trees are in like a constant autumn state, because autumn is my favorite season. So there's really no particular reason for it aside from the fact that I like autumn. But I also was coming home from my classes when I was still in college, and I carpooled, so I would get dropped off at a parking lot where I'd pick up my car and I'd drive home. And as I was going to my car, I looked across the way, and I could just barely make out the top of my church, the church I go to, poking out from above the trees. And it was around the time of fall, like late October. And I looked at that and I said, well, now that is very beautiful, because it was just like all these different colors of trees around the top of this one building. And I was just like, that's very, very picturesque. So I've always been drawn towards autumn.
Cowabunga.
That is an appropriate response.
In any case, I actually do have my next question for you. This one actually comes from Limbrodo, in which that his question is, what programs do you use for editing?
Well, originally I was using Adobe Audition for a lot of it. And then I do switch to my more comfortable Vegas Pro, which I just got. Just because I could edit faster on that than I can with like Premiere Pro. If I do it on Premiere Pro, I tend to be a lot slower. It is a little bit more of a delicate editing software, the Premiere Pro, because you kind of have to go just a tad slower, in my opinion, because Premiere Pro, I'm sorry, it's great software, probably better than Vegas Pro, but it loves to crash. I don't know about everybody else, but it loves to crash. So I went to Vegas Pro to do a lot of the editing and, placing the sound effects and doing panning and all that. But for recording and separating and choosing the takes, that was Adobe Audition.
All right, so in terms of the actual sound editing, you actually did all of that in Audition?
I did sound recording, sound... I think I did a little bit of... Well, actually, what also happened, I should mention this, is that one of the actresses, Megan Duncan, who plays Azura, she was also very helpful, very kind of her, to take time out of her daily schedule to clean up all the audio for me, the chosen takes in particular. So I guess we can also say that Pro Tools was used to do cleanup.
Okay, then, well, essentially from your sound engineer friend.
Yes. So Pro Tools was used to do cleanup, and then I did all the audio edit Vegas Pro, which was more so placement than actual, like, I guess, straight up audio editing, like with the nitty gritty of the wavelengths and everything.
I gotcha. Then here's our next question, come from Alpha. Alpha asks a very simple question. This one's actually for all three of us. The simple question of favorite character, specifically from Guardians of Avalon.
Oh, I want to go first.
Okay, Connan, what you got?
So, Fox.
Yes.
You happen to have a little character of a diminutive size who seems to like to resort to violence for almost everything she does.
And she's so freaking good at it.
Yes, she is. So, Sean, this little fairy character who is just like I light up a little bit every time I hear that pint-sized little punk of a voice. And I'm just thinking, oh, please tell me someone's gonna lose a tooth at some point. Tell us a little bit about that one.
About Azura? Okay, so I had Connor, who was the everyman. I had Alexis, who was the kind of free spirit, not violent, unless she needed to be, unless she was cornered or had to survive. For the most part, she was kind of the person who was streetwise. You had Sabelina, who was the more wise, kind of mentorish, tough leader, with a streak of kindness to her. So I was like, okay, got all those. What else can I add to this? And I was like, okay, what if I had like a character who was just like, I don't care if you're 50 stories tall, you're going down, and that's the end of it. And then I was like, what if that character was like one of the smallest beings on Avalon, in this case a fairy? Because usually when you think of fairies, you think of like, well, they heal you and they're just like Tinkerbell, and even Tinkerbell was a little bit spunky in the Disney stuff, and even in Hook. But for Azura, I wanted one who was just like a tiny fairy who could just take on whole groups of attackers and show that, yes, I can survive in hostile environments. And arguably to me, that was my Rocket Raccoon. That was my, like, it's like, what's a raccoon gonna do? And then they come in the rocket, and then Rocket grabs like a huge laser gun, and it's like, oh, he's gonna do that, okay. And then before you know it, the enemy has a hole through his chest. So yes, I
don't need no freaking laser gun. She just pop you right in the face. She's tiny and swift. She don't need nobody. She don't need no gun. She just rushes you before you have a chance to blink. And you better blink, because otherwise you're gonna have an eye extracted from your head.
Connan, we can tell that your street talk is working very well.
I'm sorry. I enjoy me a spot of violence from tiny things.
Azura is definitely, when I told Megan about the character I wanted her to play, I was like, imagine a huge metal castle door. I mean, we're talking like you need like 3 people at the least to open each side, so a total of 6. Imagine those. You hear what sounds like a giant banging on the door, like he's trying to get in, and the people in the castle are like, oh shoot, what's coming in? What's coming in, guys? Get your spears ready. And then the doors, after a couple hits, come off their hinges and fall to the ground with a mighty thud. And floating there is this tiny fairy, and that's all that did it.
Expectation versus reality.
Yeah, and the reality is you gonna die tonight.
And then let's go ahead and bring the question over to you, Mr. Fedora. What is your favorite character? Who is your favorite character?
Hands down.
Which of your children you like best?
Hands down, it's Alexis.
Alexis is your favorite character.
Because Connor's already me. So Alexis is the person that I would love to strive to be more like. It's just that I think in all, reality, it'd be very hard to, because life just loves to come at you with all sorts of little problems. So Alexis is my way of writing a character who can look at those problems and laugh in problem's face. And while Connor would probably be more like, ah, crap, I gotta deal with this now. So yeah, that's my favorite character.
And then my favorite character is a character that no one will be able to guess.
Is it Taco Man?
That was not a character.
Good old Taco Man. Don't you remember him? He was in episode 6.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I remember him.
Let's pick it up, guys. We have more questions here.
I never actually gave you my actual character. My favorite character is Gorik.
Goring.
Gorik played by you.
Listen. And no reason was Gorik my favorite character just because I played him. It was one of the reasons, but beside the point.
But, I don't believe you. I believe you are a big stinky liar pants.
Okay, for real. The reason that Gorik is actually my favorite character is because in case some people don't know, I actually am in the show, but I play as 4 extra characters, and still had a good time regardless. But Gorik's always been was the favorite of the 4, simply because that it was a chance for me to actually be able to do something like this the whole time.
So and you like him because he talks funny.
Because he talks funny. Let's just say that. Let's just say this: that after recording, I lost my voice for the following day. Totally worth it. But yeah, that was it. But yeah, it was still a fun character. But let's go and change things up. After all, this is about Guardians of Avalon, and this is about our good old Mr. Fox of Fedora to answer these here questions. Is that right?
I guess that is correct.
Yes. Then let us do that. Then let's go ahead and work on work on this. From Mr. Enko Blaze, he asks, what inspired the 3 voices for the centaurs?
That is a funny story.
Ooh, story time.
Oh,
I believe it was you who started it, Zach. You were the first of the centaurs to record.
It's all your fault.
I take
And-
full responsibility for these actions.
And the voice that you had chosen was you were attempting a impression of the Dragon Ball Z character Raditz.
Yes, having some fun with playing as a little bit of Raditz!
And then I told Rory, who was the second, he was also playing a centaur on top of playing Connor and a couple other minor roles. I said, hey, Zach did a Raditz impression for one of the centaurs. And he said, okay, I'm doing a Vegeta impression. And then Rory looked at me and said, okay, you're the third centaur, so you know who you got to try and imitate. You got to try and imitate Nappa. And that's where the inspiration for the voices of the 3 centaurs came from, because they were inspired by Raditz, Vegeta, and Nappa.
And ironically enough, the Raditz one does not die.
But
It's true.
No one's Nappa impersonation is better than mine. Hey, Vegeta.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to close the Nappa hour, sadly.
Oh,
But
we were
tune
about
in.
to go to Dairy Queen.
But tune into Fighting Leaf's channel where he does the Nappa hour daily.
Nappa hour.
Where it
Also,
it's just literally him saying "Hey Vegeta" for 1 hour as Nappa.
Also, I just wanted to say, everybody in right now, Anko Blaze, Anthony Kochnev, he plays the villain of the piece, Fafnir. So, hello, how you doing tonight?
Well, yes, welcome our villainous villain of the villains.
That means he's the bad guy.
Yes.
And let's see. I do have another one here. Is that what inspired you to use Xavier as one of the villains behind this plot?
Xavier was one of the last baddies we tackled in the old series, the first attempt, as I like to call it. And I felt that one would be a bit more fresh in people's minds, and it would be a good hook. Plus, I wanted to go back and give that one a go with the permission from Zach, who technically created the character. I wanted to give him another go story-wise because I wanted to find a way to make his origin a little bit less convoluted and complex. It still ended up being complex, but I think it was an easier to follow kind of complex.
He did not pull a Sephiroth.
Yes.
No one understands Sephiroth.
I
But we do
understand.
understand. You're a liar.
Oh.
But we do understand Xavier here.
Yes.
Or at least I do.
Yeah.
At least I think I do. Do I understand Xavier?
I mean,
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, you seem to.
Yay!
But-
I mean, we only have the first season Guardians to go on. Who knows what could happen in later seasons?
Indeed.
But we'll have to see. But we'll have to see in the near future. We got about 20 minutes left for our Q&A, so if you got any more questions, then feel free to give them right now. Until then,
Well, there's a bunch up there that
yes, but that involves scrolling.
I'll scroll then. If you're not gonna scroll, I'll scroll.
Oh no! I will scroll. I'm the MC. You will answer questions. I will give you questions. That's how the formula works.
In the meantime, I have a question that I want to ask of you, Fox.
Yes.
Alpha Purunga asks, Fox, which characters do you feel will have fan fictions?
I'm too afraid to find out.
The answer is all of them. I'm
Oh.
personally waiting for Golrick's quest.
Gorik's quest.
I'm currently waiting for Golrick's quest. Golrick's
Gorik's crest. Good job.
Listen,
I'm waiting for
go-
Golrick's quest.
go-
Golrick's quest is best quest.
I'm waiting for Golrick's
Find the
quest.
Tugendbauers.
It is
Oh,
going to be
jeez.
the best quest that you've ever seen.
What he said.
It
Yeah.
basically is a prequel story about how Golrick was the savior of mankind and then messed it all up so we could have Guardians of Avalon.
Yay!
But no one knows except him.
I want to see Wait, do I want to see more Azura stuff? Because I know what fan fiction does to stuff.
Only thing, the
On
question,
one hand,
Oh
I
no.
would love a
question
dramatic
is-
reading of something.
the better
but
question:
that would
Do you
also
want
be the horrible?
do you want more official stuff or more fan fiction stuff?
Official stuff, yes. Fan fiction stuff, don't know if want.
Oh no.
All you have to do is say is this: is that yes, more fan fiction, so long as that it doesn't qualify as an SFW.
Okay, so there's
Yeah.
Zach. We got a question from Carolyn Stewart.
Yes.
Scroll up just a little bit. And this one goes to everybody.
Meh.
So it says, what was your favorite episode of Guardians of Avalon?
Oh yeah. Sorry, that question. My apologies, Carolyn, for not getting to that question. Favorite episode, Guardian of Avalon. Connan, you start.
I liked the episode 2, I believe, where we got to see Azura just introduce herself and be awesome. That was episode 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, where we got to see her, where I got to have my first impression of this little fairy who could beat your face in with her bare fists so that your nose pointed out the back of your head.
Lovely.
Neat.
So yeah, that was what I liked, and so most of my favorites are going to revolve around Azura. So just know that ahead of time.
No problem. Then, personally, I think my favorite episode was most likely episode 5. The finale was just a really fun, epic finale. The battle was really intense, and the special little teaser for at the end of the show, I will say, was very well done. Not that. No, here's the thing. Not that teaser. The one at the hospital.
Ah, okay.
That one. The other teaser. Oh no, that was trash. Why did they even do that?
I will
I
say.
got it.
I will say that my favorite episode was actually also my favorite episode to edit, which you'd think it wasn't, but it was episode 4.
I'm guessing that you
Yes.
had. I'm guessing you had fun editing the battle scene, right?
Well, the battle scene was fun to edit, and I also like that episode because one of the things that I really like is for those of you who have seen any of the Netflix Marvel shows like Daredevil or Jessica Jones or Luke Cage, one of the fun things about those shows is that sometimes they'll take a moment in an episode to go back to the past of a character, and you can get to see a better reason as to why these characters are the way they are. It's typical flashbacks that you've seen done before, but because it's a TV show and you get more time, and it's one narrative, you can actually take the time to show that character's point of view, and the villain isn't always written as just a straight up bad guy. A lot of people just kind of write their bad guys very like, well, he's evil because he's evil, or she's evil because she's evil. Nothing wrong with that in some cases, but usually a good motivation and a good reason as to why that person is doing what they're doing usually makes for a really memorable and good bad guy. So at first when you meet Fafnir in the show, he's just kind of straight up bad guy. It doesn't seem like he's got anything really deep about him. But then in episode 4, once we've gotten through kind of all the other things in the show up to that point, we start to see that Fafnir really does care about the future of Avalon, but he's just been led astray. He's done horrible things because people told him that if you do these horrible things in the long run, it'll work out.
Which is a lie.
Yes.
So is this the part of the Q&A where it should probably say spoiler warning?
There's too many spoilers already.
You're right. We already talked about Xavier, so I think so. Pretty much like if you haven't seen all of, if you haven't seen all 5 episodes of Guardians, sorry, but you can still watch. But you can still watch.
Do them. Do it now.
Oh, listen, you heard the man who wears a puppet on his hand. He tells you he's telling you to watch this show. So what should you do?
There was one question that was skipped over from, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, BB King Critic. And I believe they said, where was it? Was it them or was it somebody else? Somebody was asking about Celtic lore.
That was actually William McKinn's.
Was it? Oh, okay.
They asked how much Celtic lore was in it.
Okay, so in this case, the first season's already out, so it's here on this channel, ZMedia. Some of it was taken from the Arthurian lore. I didn't really restrain myself to being like, you will, honor the Celtic lore as it is written. No, I wanted to have the freedom to just be able to adapt and put other things into it, and kind of make it my own flavor, if you will. I did pay homage to some things, and that was enough for me, so to speak. I wanted to like I said, I wanted my own flavor, wanted to bring in different characters, different aspects, while also paying, attention to details like, this island is off of Earth, so they have to develop a different way, and how they speak or how they should speak or ways they should speak, things like that. Didn't go into a huge amount of detail on all the tiny things, but deep down I did think about a lot of like, oh wait, this should be like that, this should be like this, and the way it should, the overall feel and aesthetic of the island should be this way, because that's just how it is.
Super spendiferous.
I couldn't have said it better.
He's just coming up with all these new new ways to say cool.
Listen,
It's much more efficient just to say cool. Darn it, Zach.
It is.
Be more efficient.
So you're saying that I should be more efficient, and the best way to be more efficient is by expanding my vocabulary.
No. I mean, say cool. That's
cool.
it.
Okay, cool beans.
That also works.
Okay. Then here's a question that actually comes from Avion. What was your favorite and least favorite parts of working on the series so far?
Well, least favorite part, as I've stated, it was the editing and the tight deadlines. Favorite part, I've always enjoyed the writing. I also enjoy being able to cast and work with my actors for this show. And I gotta say, all the people who worked with me on this, the actors, they are just some of the best people I've had the pleasure of working with. They stuck with me the whole way. They wanted to get the lines right. They wanted to redo them as many times as necessary to make sure that it was the way that I wanted it, or it was the way I didn't think it could be said, or I was like, hey, no, that worked. And they just really, really nailed their stuff. They were truly dedicated, and I can't thank them enough. And I cannot wait to work with them again in the future.
Dun dun dun.
Awesome.
So, what about least favorite part then?
Well, I said it was the editing.
Well, let's say this. If you didn't have to say the editing, then what would you say is another least favorite?
Well, that's like saying,
Okay, then.
Hey, I know you said that was your least favorite, but wasn't there something else you hated?
Okay.
Something that starts with
Something that starts with an L and rhymes with lawsuit.
There was a lawsuit? What?
That didn't happen.
No, copyright. Was it a hard process going through the copyrights?
Oh, well, when you talk about the nitty gritty of the copyrights, no, you just have to know. You just basically, if you're gonna mess with copyright, you have to be able to sit there and research or take a class or something to understand how copyrights work. Thankfully, as I said, I've gone through college. I did take a class that was a business class, and I have spent time on copyright.gov or whatever the website name is for the Copyright Office of the United States, Library of Congress. I have spent time in there just researching and looking at all the different legal jargon, trying to commit it to memory. That didn't work. I will be referring back to that many times.
I mean, listen, no one's ever going to remember every single law that was done in the Constitution or just the U.S. law in general because they're adding new ones like almost every day.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
what the internet is for.
it's like it's like Legos. It's like they just keep putting more on top of it, and it's getting taller and taller and taller. And then somebody goes, "Hey, can you find that one yellow brick I had?" And there's like a billion of them now. Which one are you talking about? Oh, it's toward the bottom. There's plenty of them there. So
The answer is this. Okay, then so a millennial's like, oh yeah, no problem. Then you tell them you can't use Google.
Then how do you think without brain computer?
good job.
Brain computer.
Brain computer.
I'm sorry to hear about your brain computer.
Well, cool.
Then
That's good.
here's the thing. We've only got about less than 10 minutes left, so I think we have enough time for just a few more questions.
And then I have a quick announcement before we hit the end of our live stream here.
Yep, I think we have enough time for maybe 2 or 3 more questions. Then we actually have some announcements and something else, but we'll save it at the end.
Yes. So one more question. Do we have one more question?
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Out of all the characters that you've written out of all of these, would you like to share anything involving some things you are planning for a season 2? Like anything
What does the future hold?
That's will be the accurate question. What does the future hold for Guardians of Avalon, specifically season 2? Any nitty-gritty notes you can give us?
Well, I do believe that there was one question on the video from Wingsong, was it? The other video, and she mentioned if you have it up, Zach, you could look at it.
Yes, it was involving King Arthur lore.
Did she ask about if there was going to be any other type of lore coming in?
She specifically asked, "Will we be expecting more well-known legends/myths to show up in the future?"
I will not reveal which will show up, but I can confirm, yes, you will see other legends, myths, other creatures, characters that are fairly well known.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Some that
Pirates
are
of the Caribbean.
and
I don't
maybe
think
one
so.
or two that are completely obscure to most people.
It's possible, yes.
Yeah, so we get a little bit of both. So you're gonna learn yourself something. So pay attention to his next series, or else you're gonna remain stupid, dumb people for the rest of your life.
Yes, so in other words, spoilers.
We do have a quick question. Will Simon Belmont make an appearance?
Yeah, no.
No, you heard it here. He said yes. He said yes.
I got excited for a second. I want
Listen.
Simon Belmont to be in the next season of Guardians of Avalon.
Okay, I'll call up Nintendo and Konami and ask if I can borrow.
Okay, here's the thing. Even if you don't get Simon, can you at least get Dracula?
I could get Dracula if I wanted to.
You could.
No one wants Dracula unless he's giving the "What is a man" speech.
I mean, we already know what the answer is. A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk with that. Have at you.
Yeah, what he said.
Yes.
In any case, I believe that actually wraps up the questions. So,
All right. So
let's
I
go-
have a
Oh,
quick
yeah.
couple of announcements real quick.
Yeah, do that thing.
What's
Okay. Yes, I'll do that thing. All right. So, for those of you who do not know, well, actually, first before I get into that, I do want to thank everybody who tuned in to the Guardians of Avalon and who will watch the Guardians of Avalon. Thank you so much. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have gotten the feedback and the good numbers that we have. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for tuning in and joining us in this first step in what's a huge, massive leap that you guys have not yet seen. There is way more coming. I am incredibly excited for what's to come. These two guys are very much a part of that, and you will see what they have to offer very soon as well. But in terms of announcements, real quick, if anybody wants to keep up with the Guardians of Avalon and other shows that will be coming from ZMedia, just to let you know right now, Twitter is the place. If you want to keep up with announcements, if you want to contact us, if you want to ask more questions, that's where to do it. I believe Zach has posted the Twitter.
It probably won't. It probably is not in there during the live presentation, but it will be there for the pre-show afterwards. So you'll be able to get on there. So if you want to get on there, then go to twitter.com/ZMediaEnt.
Yes.
Or just simply, or if you can go to the Guardians of Avalon Twitter page as well, that's where you can find all your Guardians of Avalon news. We have our ZMedia Twitter, which also will post ZMedia related news.
Mm-hmm. We have www.twitter.com/Avalon Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
And the last announcement I have is, hey everybody, have you ever wanted to take Go?
What was that?
Have you ever wanted to take ZMedia on the go?
Oh, golly gee willikers, I can take ZMedia on the go. Takes computer, chunks it out the window.
Well, very soon, hopefully in another 3 to 4 weeks, something like that, we will be posting the Guardians of Avalon Season 1 on other platforms. So you guys will be able to listen to the Guardians of Avalon and other future shows on your phone, and various devices, even in your car, if you have a certain type of car, I believe. But we will be posting more about that soon. You'll be able to get the Guardians of Avalon and other ZMedia shows on places like Stitcher, iTunes, SoundCloud, you name it. It's all in the works. It's all coming. So
will it be on MySpace?
No.
Ah, darn it.
You're right. Only the popular ones. Because you see, we want to be the cool kids on the block. So enjoy Guardians of Avalon on Stitcher, SoundCloud, the iTunes, or of course, good old-fashioned YouTube right here.
Mm-hmm. And there will be more to come in the future. We will let people know about that as it comes. But again, thank you all for tuning in to the Guardians of Avalon. I do thank you so much for how much you guys have positively responded to it. And it just makes my day to see how well it's doing, to see how well it's surviving. So thank you all so much.
Mm-hmm. We appreciate your support, and we hope you support us even more in the future.
All right, so I guess that just about wraps this up, huh, Zach?
Yeah, it does. But here's the thing: is that I got this thing here. It's something that's just like this little recording. Do you think I should show it off? It's kind of just like a file on my computer.
Now you've got me all curious, and I think I would like to take a listen to this, if Sean doesn't mind at all.
I don't mind at all. I mean, go right ahead. This is everybody's stream.
Okay, booting up the file now. Then here it goes. All right, this is Dr. Ivan Menace, and we're beginning testing on my next invention, the Companion Automaton X. The guy who writes the checks, Mr. Mordecai, shall test the robot.
Hello, I am Walter Gates Mordecai, and...
Threat detected. Must destroy.
What?
Threat detected.
No, get away from me! Get away from me!
Threat detected.
Menace, shut that thing off! I'm trying!
Eliminating threat.
There!
Eliminating threat.
Why was that thing trying to kill me?
I don't know. Let's see here. That's why! I've been looking for this video game all week! Shooter Guy 2. Violence never pays.
I almost died because you put a video game into that death machine!
Yes.
Make sure the next one doesn't do that.
No prob. And thus ends another day in the life and times of Dr. Menace. Coming soon this fall.
So what, are you doing like a TV show or something?
No, it's more like a radio show, and yeah.
TV show or something.
That's right. We have ourselves another show in the works called The Life and Times of Dr. Menace.
Boy, what a great thing to have, isn't it, Sean?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And all of this is just stemming from one little file that I found on the computer. So I gotta make this into a... So it's gotta be made into a show now, doesn't it?
Yes, yes, it does.
Yeah, yeah. You have to make it the show, and it has to be out this fall.
This fall?
This
Yes.
fall, yes. Now.
So get to casting your characters and get a move on. All right.
Okay. I'll get to work. Does this man have to play 20 characters again?
Yes.
No.
No.
Yes.
No.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
What? No.
What?
Yeah.
What he said?
Okay.
What?
20 characters? What? No.
And that's the life and times of Dr. Menace, everybody, coming up this fall.
We hope you enjoyed this upcoming series, and we'll let you know some more info in the future. Until then, have yourself a fantastic night and take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.